Good evening and welcome to Posse Presents. I think tonight I got everything under control all by myself and Zach is so proud of me. Woohoo! I didn't mess up my record. Although you might, now I can see it. I was gonna say you might want to come check just to make sure, but I didn't break anything trying to hit the record button this week, so I think we are on track. No, I can see it. Even in spite of the glare and my blindness, I can see it, so we're good. For those of you who missed it last week, there was a little bit of a debacle. I generally hit the record button at a certain point in the intro, and you know, then the show is uploaded onto YouTube from there, but unfortunately when I went to hit the record button, my fingernail snapped and I couldn't see anymore over there because there's like a brief second when the record light is really at a good point where I can see it, and I had to have Zach come look, and it wasn't recording and it started late, and it was a lot of fun. And like I posted on my Facebook page, laugh with me, not at me, because I thought it was pretty funny, but you know, it is what it is. It's live TV and things happen. And, you know, I stand by my mistakes, as everybody should. Anyway, it's a very cold Saturday night. It's about to be daylight savings time, which is a blessing and a curse because Lord knows I don't like the hour taken away from me. But it is nice to have the sun go down, you know, the daylight longer and all that, and that's the purpose of it. But don't forget to spring ahead this evening. So we never know where I'm going to end up. Oh, and look, somebody's texting me. Isn't that special? We never know where I'm going to end up. And last weekend, I had the pleasure of taking a quick visit to Sweet Pea Friends of Rutland Animals, excuse me, with my dear friend Sherry. And we were on a mission to accomplish something, mission accomplished, but got to hang out and socialize with Deb Young, who is Juno's mom, and Juno and Jake and Scout and Melanie and Serena and Robert, and it was really fun. And there was a nice little benefit to being able to hang out. And that is, you've heard me talk about Juno's anti-bullying videos. She did one and was in the process of collecting pictures to do the second one. And well, you know, opportunity knocks. There we were. Zach, let's put up the picture of Juno's picture that is going to be in her video. There we are, Sherry and I, with the little queen herself. The whole purpose is to send a message that's anti-bullying. And there we are, you know me, dare to be different, right? So there we go. And that will be part of the second video. And if anybody has a picture that they want to submit, I'm pretty sure you still have time if you go post it on Juno's Place on Facebook. She's going to be putting that video together. I know they're marching in the St. Patrick's Day parade up there tomorrow, so she's got her hands full, but Deb will be getting that together, and like I said, I think you still have time. I will take the camera back. That was actually a lot of fun, just like I said, hanging out and being able to do that, because, you know, I was saying to Deb, but Deb, I'm not good at selfies, and how am I going to do it, and wah. So she was like, all right, stop whining, sit down here. And so it is. Anyway, before I go any further, I want to bring your attention to a dog that is lost in Waterbury. And if we could get that poster up. Excuse me. I'm dying tonight. Anyway, a 3-year-old dog named Max, last seen on Frost Road. Max has seizures and needs to be on his medication. He has a brother at home who misses him and an owner who is heartbroken. If you have any idea of the whereabouts of Max, if you have seen him, and actually Frost Road is not so far away from the studio here, if you've got any idea of what may have happened to Max, if you know who has him, hopefully somebody has him because it's so cold out there. Unbelievable to think of animals just surviving out in this cold. But you can call Paul at 203-850-4690. That's 203-850-4690. And I certainly hope that Max is found safe and soon. And I thank you to my friend Dawn for bringing this to my attention so that I can share it. I will take the camera back for a moment. And, you know, there's so many things that go on, so many rotten things that people do to animals. And that's going to be a little bit of a topic tonight. But there was a dog that was found in New London, and New London Animal Control is looking to find out who left this gorgeous dog. And let's get the picture up. New London, NL, it says. Okay, it's all good. Zach's like, we didn't go over what order you wanted them in. That's all right, just read, you're fine. New London Animal Control is looking to find out who tied this gorgeous dog to a fence earlier this week. The poor girl was scared, shivering, and as you can imagine, quite confused. You know, it has not been warm, it's been unseasonably warm, but for all intents and purposes, it's too cold for animals to be outside. And you know, who does this? Who just ties an animal to something and walks away? Sadly, it happens more often than you could ever imagine. But this dog is beautiful, and she looks like a sweetheart, and it breaks my heart to think how scared she must have been. You know, her person just ties her up and walks away. She can't follow. She doesn't know what's happening. Terrible, terrible thing to do. Anyway, if anybody has any information, if you recognize this dog, if you know who might have been responsible, if it's your dog and maybe she was stolen and, you know, who knows? Sometimes things like that do happen, but, you know, that just makes the story even more convoluted and I think worse. So if you have any information, please call New London Animal Control at 860-447-5231. Once again, that's 860-447-5231. Now I'm going to take the camera back, and this next story has kind of rocked the state from what I can see, and it's gone pretty national, I think, in terms of the impact that it's had. There was a dog found in Branford, as close to death as it gets. A good Samaritan saw her walking and fall over, scooped her up and took her to the shelter, and that would be the Dan Cosgrove Animal Shelter. The dog, now named Hope, has been receiving 24-hour medical care, and I'm going to tell you, we're going to put the pictures up, and it's really hard to look at. If you're weak, this is not the thing for you to see. Let's get the first two pictures of Hope up. Here she is, starved. The veterinary reports say that she was starved for months, and her blood work came back negative for diseases or infections. So, you know, there was nothing contributing to it. Let's get the second picture. This poor dog, seriously, just about as close to death as it comes. They were saying that probably within another 24 or 48 hours, she would have been dead. And thank God that the woman who saw her and was someone who took action to help her. You know, again, she's got a long road ahead. You can't, an animal doesn't recover from this state very easily. Let's get the face picture again. The first one, yep, there you go. You know, the sad part is this didn't happen, like I said, overnight. They believe that, you know, she was starved over a period of months, and it's very possible that she was dumped and came from somewhere else, which, is typical of, sadly, it's typical of the way that people operate. They don't want to be caught, so, they just take an animal somewhere else and dump it. There's no way this dog was wandering in this condition. Again, the woman who saw her said she saw her, fall over walking. There's no energy. There's no way this dog got far on her own. So again, they're looking into, the thought that she may have been dumped. Now, as I said, she's receiving 24-hour care, and she has made improvements. Let's get the other pictures of Hope. Nope. Yep, there we go. Fortunately, she's clearly a strong dog to have made it this far, but she went from not even being able to pick up her head to, you see, standing up on her own. And of course, they've got her wrapped up and warm because she's got no insulation. She's probably very still uncomfortable. She's beautiful, though. There's one more picture, I believe, of that beautiful face, and you can see the life returning back to her eyes. She's not out of the woods yet, because there are so many things that happen to the body when it's starved. Organs start to shut down, they stop working properly. It's really a gamble as to whether the body can recover and whether there'll be any long-term effects from having gotten to that point. But anyway, again, the shelter is seeking any info at all with the hopes of finding out who is responsible for poor Hope getting to the point that she was when she was found. All calls will be kept confidential. There is a substantial reward being offered, which, like I said, it's impacted. It's had a farther reach than just Connecticut. So the number to call if you know anything is 203-315-4125. Once again, 203-315-4125. And there's a lot of support being put together. A lot of people are rallying for Hope. She's got a long road ahead of her. Like I said, she's going to have medical care and all kinds of things stand in her way. And certainly, if you're interested in following her story, you can go to the Dan Cosgrove Animal Shelter Facebook page, where they are posting updates once a day in the afternoon. I will take the camera back, and Hope wasn't the only story this week that broke of severe abuse, and I chose not to technically put it into the show, but there was a cat that was just awfully abused and tortured, almost unrecognizable when it made its way home, and nobody knows how it even made its way home, and this was out in Utah. So my advice is, seriously, keep your pets inside. Cats are so vulnerable, and it's so heartbreaking. That's another case where they're looking for information leading to the people who are responsible. The poor cat didn't survive, and it's got to be so devastating for the family, and it's infuriating for those people like myself who love animals and couldn't imagine hurting them. Anyway, on to some adoptables. Something you don't usually see in a shelter, and proof that it's not all pit bulls and mixed breeds available. Let's get Roxy up. There we go. Roxy is a Shiba Inu, and you really don't see those in shelters, very rarely. And Roxy was surrendered to Norwich Animal Control. She's about 3 years old. She's a little aloof at first. Apparently, the poor girl's been passed around a bit. And, it's hard for an animal to go from home to home to home and not know what to expect. They tend to hesitate to warm up sometimes, just like people do. You know, they're afraid to get attached, just like people do, because, you know, it only leads to more hurt. So anyway, once Roxy gets to know you, it's all good. And she'll need a little patience and a lot of love. And she will definitely be her new family's best friend. Now, of course, Shiba Inus are one of those breeds that just are not for everyone. So by all means, if you have an interest in Roxy, please do some research and make sure that she would be a good fit, because you don't want to set an animal up to fail. You really don't. And that is actually how a lot of animals are failed by people, because they don't do the research about a breed. They're, you know, intrigued by a look or by a certain trait, and, you know, they think, oh yeah, I want one of those, and it's just not the dog for them, and it just skyrockets and spirals, and it doesn't become a good situation. The dog is always the one to lose. So anyway, if you're interested in Roxy, you can call Norwich Animal Control at 860-887-5747. Once again, that's 860-887-5747. Also in Norwich is an older girl named Pebbles. There we go. Zach's on the ball now. Pebbles is another senior who was dumped at the shelter, and Pebbles has had zero interest so far. You know, she's got like those strikes against her of being an older dog. And of course, I've said before that, you know, brindle dogs and black dogs are considered less adoptable. They're the most overlooked. And this beautiful girl does have brindle in her coat, which, you know, contributes, I would say, by those statistics, to the lack of interest. You know, in spite of her age, she's said to be spry, walks well on a leash, and enjoys her walks and playing. So Pebbles really deserves to be in a home for the rest of her life, and not sitting in a shelter and wasting away wondering why she's sitting there. So if you are on the market for an older dog, a, you know, somewhat calmer dog, but one that still has, you know, plenty of spunk, as it seems that Pebbles does, by all means, give the Norwich Animal Control a call. Again, that's 860-887-5747, 860-887-5747. Now, I also saw a really beautiful cat at the Norwich Animal Control, and his name is Cowbell. And look at that beautiful face. Zach's in love. He just let out a noise. So if you're looking for an adult cat to add to your home, Cowbell is hoping to find a place where it's a quiet, kid-free, stress-free environment. Amen. It seems he'd been adopted, but having lots of young kids around proved to be too much for him. And so Cowbell was returned to the shelter, which is always so sad. I can't imagine what goes through their heads. You know, they go through all of the trying to get used to a new home, and, you know, whether it works out or they think, you know, people's perspective and the animal's perspective is two different things. But even though he was stressed out, you know, now he's found himself back at the shelter, and maybe at least that's more comfort for him if it's, you know, quieter and there isn't the stress of having little kids around. Anyway, Cowbell is otherwise a very loving boy. He is up to date on his vaccinations, and he's already neutered. So he's basically, you know, a grab and go if you're looking for a cat, as long as he's the right fit for you. And Lord, he's gorgeous. Norwich Animal Control, 860-887-5747 is the number to call. And we'll move on now to Boo, who is a beautiful girl who it appears has been at the Mount Vernon, New York Animal Shelter for a very long time, I guess over a year. And it's hard to believe that, you know, she's such a beautiful girl and she still doesn't have a home. but I guess not everyone is interested in a deaf dog. Now, this is a case of people not knowing what they're missing out on. Boo is described as one of the smartest dogs at the shelter, and I'm sure that she is all that and more. You know, if we can redefine our idea of perfect, many more shelter pets would be adopted. True, there are more things to know when you're going to give a deaf dog a home. You know, hand signals, different manner of handling the animal, but it's not insurmountable. And I don't understand. I don't understand why people are afraid of handicaps. But then again, it's true with people as well. And I'm not even going to get into that. But you know, if you're interested in giving a dog like Boo, who is deaf, a home, you know, there are actually trainers who work with rescue dogs, and they donate their time, a lot of them. And I'm sure with a little effort, one can be found that has experience with deaf animals, because, you know, it's probably a good thing to facilitate the adoption, to make sure everybody's on the same page. You know, the person knows what the dog's actual needs are. The trainer can assess, you know, how the dog interacts, and, you know, kind of make it a match made in heaven for both, you know, because both, you know, the dog and the family have to be on board with how life has to be. But anyway, more people really should give a dog like Boo a chance. She's so pretty, and I bet you she really just would be such an amazing companion. So if you are interested in finding out more about Boo, you can call the Mount Vernon Animal Control at 914-665-2444. Once again, 914-665-2444. And really, over a year, it's a very long time for a dog to wait, this poor girl. Next up, we have Bojangles, or Bo for short. Where are ya? He's actively looking. Yeah, I thought I had them pretty well in order there. Oh, okay. Well, Zach is saying that that they were not in quite the order they should have been. But anyway, okay. Bojangles, or Bo for short, has been at the shelter since November. He's been in basic training, and now he's ready for a home. He's very sweet. He's full of energy. He gets along with other dogs, but they're currently looking for an only dog home. That's all they said. They didn't say why. But he certainly is a handsome boy. And, you know, if you are looking for an only dog, there's your boy. Cromwell Animal Control is where Bo is at. 860-635-2256. Once again, 860-635-2256. And you want extension 29. Now this next one kills me, and that would be George. Look at that face. I can't even stand how sweet his face is. George is a skinny, sweet senior, and he was found roaming in Ansonia in late February. Now, George is still sitting there, and I can't imagine how someone is not looking for him. You know, if only these dogs could talk and tell their stories, we would find out why George was even wandering, and what his deal is. The other pictures that there were of George, he is really very skinny. I don't think life was probably very kind to him before. But look at that. I mean, the look in his eyes, I see like a sadness. And it's, this poor baby is just, he's killing me. You know, old dogs are kind of a very special thing for me. And, you know, no dog, no animal should be homeless, but some get to you more than others. Anyway, George is available for adoption. He is past his stray hold. And if you are interested in George, you can call the Ansonia Animal Control at 203-410-7716. Once again, that's 203-410-7716. I just want to smooch his face, and I just don't know what I don't know. How do people just dump animals? How do people just not want them anymore? I don't get it. I'll take the camera back. And, you know, Zach even told me there was a dog by his job today. Very recently had puppies out in this cold weather. Probably another dog that was dumped. You know, people, if you can't take care of them, there are so many better ways to handle it than to just let them go or just dump them. You know, in the case of Hope, she had to have been contained somewhere and starved. The cruelty just is mind-boggling. You know, if you don't like animals, stay away from them. You don't have to hurt them. You don't have to harm them. You don't have to torture them. Leave them to the people who are really going to care about them. Stay away. Just far too many stories that I see where people are so indifferent to the lives of such innocent and perfectly wonderful creatures. Anyway, I see that my time looks like it's up. Yes, no? Yes, that's a yes. See, Zach has been with me and not with me. I don't know tonight. I can't hear you. All I hear is peace, love, and dogs. Until next week, thank you very much for watching, and good night.